What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the video. Today, I'm going to do a reaction here to the press conference that President Trump had following a U.S. operation in Venezuela, where Nicolas Maduro was arrested or captured, depending on how you look at it. Um, and man, I'm at work, doing what I do overnight, and I someone has said this on a stream that I was watching, and I was just like, man, I was wondering, like, what exactly was going on. um and I was just couldn't wait to get off and get myself together and kind of just take a look at everything that was going on. And I seen what was happening. So I'm just going to play this news conference here, man. This is a very, very long news conference. I did jot down some of the timeline, and I'm gonna try to play as much of it as possible. This is gonna be one of the longest videos I've done on this channel, because there's people that's gonna be for this, there's people that's gonna be against this, and there's a lot of people that's gonna be against it that do support Trump. They just don't support military action. And I've been looking at X and TikTok, of course, and just seeing like the sentiment of what the people are saying. So you got veterans that are talking against this. You got people questioning how we have a healthcare issue, and but we have money to do this operation. People, of course, questioning how we have people that are hungry in America, but we have money to do this operation. And I just want to play this video, kind of give a little bit of commentary and insight as the video plays. So bear with me, yo. Like I said, this is gonna be a pretty long video. Um, I may have to chop this whole video up into several different shorts. We'll see, but this press conference was 51 minutes. So this is the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence.
So just wanted to pause it for a second here. I'm sure plenty of you who are interested in watching this video have already seen this press conference. But if you look to the left there, right above me, you see Nicolas Maduro. When they capture people and or arrest people, they typically will have them blindfolded, or they will have shades on their eyes, just so that they are not aware of where they're going or what they're seeing. Of course, you see that his hands look to be bound. They did provide him with water. Um, they gave him, of course, earphones or headphones there to kind of muffle out sound. Um, they're going to they flew him supposedly to an aircraft carrier, to where he's going to be transported over here to either New York. Well, they said he was going to be transported to New York, um, but they said they was going to have him either stand trial in New York or Miami. It was one other place. I can't really recall at this current moment, but they should mention it here in the press conference. But this is typically how they do with international prisoners that they go and arrest and capture, depending, like I said, depending on how you look at this whole situation.
in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, it's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, maybe like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea. We're just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see.
I hope we do get to see it. I hope somehow we at least get to see a glimpse of it. Of course, the president is he's at his station. We've seen pictures of presidents before, sitting in what they call, I guess, the war room. There's a bunch of generals around. All the important people that should be in that room, and they have a huge TV, multiple camera angles, and they're watching these operations as they unfold. And I hope we do get to see it, because this is the type of stuff that I'm interested to see. um and I feel like I don't feel like the Venezuelan military wanted to have any type of back and forth with the United States, especially with them being incapacitated, with maybe their communications were down. Of course, like you said, it was a blackout, because we were strategic as far as certain targets that we was going to take out before any troops hit the ground, or any planes were in that area, because countries of course have anti-aircraft weaponry that they use, or anti-aircraft equipment that they're going to use. And those things have to be disabled before we can put our men and women of our military in any type of harm. Before they're even able to go into action, we have to make sure nothing's going to happen to them. And I'm so glad that it was reported that no Americans were injured. Now, I'm seeing different reports. I've seen some reports saying there was some Venezuelans that were either killed or hurt. So still waiting to get 100% confirmation on that. I have seen on X that there was a lot of damage done, with the explosions and things like that. So I was seeing that. I was seeing pictures with a lot of blood and stuff. So that's why it's like I was going to show that, but I was just like, no, nah, I'm not going to show that here on my YouTube channel. But I have seen those images that are circulating around on X. So if you go and search for it, of course you'll be able to find it. But I'm gonna let the president continue.
Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have, and you see that even if you just look at the boats. We've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea. 90%. Each boat kills on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years.
So that's very key, very key, part of his speech here. He's saying that the United States is going to run Venezuela. And I've already watched this press conference once. So of course I foresee, what's going to come here. But very shortly we're going to definitely hear one of the main objectives, I feel, in why we went ahead and proceeded with this operation. And man, because of course, if they don't already have some type of leadership that's already set to take over, that leaves it wide open, for anybody to try to come and um, you know take leadership of Venezuela. So Trump is saying that the United States is going to run Venezuela temporarily, because I know it's not going to be a very long term thing. But it's going to be very interesting to see the type of influence, or just how this whole thing is going to play out and how this is going to operate. I feel like we're this is brand new territory for the United States, as far as having this in mind, or this as a goal of running a completely different country. It's almost like adopting Venezuela as another state, So, uh, and again, man, it's gonna be people for this, gonna be people against this. Me personally, I just feel like just for the people that are actually living in Venezuela, I feel like it's important to give them the opportunity to um, you know, go through a period of, people being able to campaign and put themselves into a position of where the people can actually vote for who they want their next leader to be. Um, I think, I mean, just same as within the United States, whether people think it's rigged or not, you just give people a chance to vote for who they want in power. Many people thought Maduro rigged the previous election, because I also have seen images of people, just looking heartbroken that Maduro was actually still in power. So again, man, it's gonna be people that's on the left side of this and people on the right side of this. But that has been in everything. I don't recall a time where everyone has 100% agreed on anything. You know, it really doesn't matter what it is, man. You're gonna have people that are for it and people that are against it. So it is what it is.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela, and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. We've had decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping.
There we have it. There we have it. Oil. There we have it. We needed the oil. Whether we needed it, wanted it. Once I started seeing the oil tankers being seized, and I think we seized like 2 oil tankers, and Trump said, yeah, we're gonna keep it. We might use the oil, this, that, the third. That kind of gave me an insight on, you know, his mindset as far as dealing with Venezuela. Um, because, of course, if you go in and take over a country, the way that this is pretty much playing out to be, what type of natural resources do they have that can be taken advantage of, can be used, to our advantage? And here we are. It looks like we had the eyes on the oil, and man, we gonna see like we gotta see what how this plays out. I really don't want to sit and put my foot on my mouth about anything, but I kind of seen this coming as far as when they started seizing those oil tankers. I said, man, we're kind of in it for the oil. Of course, we want to stop the flow of illegal drugs, and if Maduro is, of course, the leader of setting this stuff in play as far as getting the drugs over here and trafficking the drugs, from through Venezuela, out into the world. Of course, it's gonna answer for that, but I don't think he was trying to play nice as far as the oil thing, and I don't think we like that at all.
And what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.
These oil companies, they're salivating. I wouldn't be surprised if like your oil stocks start going up with this news. I would not be shocked. I really wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, oil companies are salivating at the chance to go in there and increase their bottom line. Got to believe it, man. It's a capitalistic country, and oil is one of those key things, man, that kind of runs the world, runs the energy sector for sure. So, they just can't wait to go and be able to drill for that oil and get that oil back over to the United States. And what I'm hoping is that oil prices go down, gas prices. Um, but again, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see how this helps us as American citizens. Being that we went into a country, some will call it an invasion, and you know, we just have to see. We have to see how it helps, the everyday U.S. citizen.
And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not.
So as you just heard, they was already planning for a second wave. So if the Venezuelan military would have you know been on the offense, or been on the defense, and would have started shooting or killing troops of the United States, then we was already prepared for that. They already had that in the books, and that plan is still on go if it comes to that. So he's already outlining and detailing that it could still be an issue. It could still go up. It could be some generals who, I think their vice president right now is supposedly running the country or in command. So we'll just have to see. Again, all this type of stuff, man, happened in the dead of night, out of nowhere. We had no forewarning that this was happening. It just became breaking news. So we'll have to see. But of course, our military is going to definitely be ready, and President Trump is already letting us know. He's already giving us a warning. If 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 it comes to it, we're going to be prepared for a second wave.
The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship they'll be heading to, ultimately, New York. And then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States. Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide, and he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they call police.
I know, you guys remember that being reported, where, Venezuelans, that they were saying was a part of Tren de Aragua, um, and took over, um, Colorado apartments, man. I haven't heard too much more since, but that was like a story that was very, very popular like a few years ago.
Apartment complex, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States. Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide, and he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they call police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks.
So, she's just talking about some stuff that's been happening here on the homeland. But I'm gonna go to 21 minutes, to where Pete Hegseth steps to the podium and starts talking. Let's see, right around this time.
I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men, and I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around, and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength, and the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026, and under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our chairman, Chairman Raising Cane, to give a few more details about the operation. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so now Raising Cane is going to come to the podium and give us a timeline of how these events played out.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists, and we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do.
Definitely some audacity. You know, I mean, good luck going into other countries and trying to, capture their leader and do it without any type of loss on your side. It just speaks to the professionalism, the training of our military, the precision and accuracy and attention to the details that they have. you know um Man, I'm always amazed at our military. From watching documentaries to interviews and even press conferences like this, when you get to get a little bit of more information to those of us who are not in certain inner circles, who are privy to this information. I've even visited the Pentagon, and just seeing how they operated, and this was after 9/11. I just in awe, because I have several family members who are either in military or ex-military in different branches of the military, and I'm always in awe, just always grateful for them, because they allow us to live in this country peacefully without really too much worry about threats and people invading us and stuff like that, because there's a lot of people who do not like us, trust and believe that. But they know that we have one of the baddest militaries in the world, literally. And everybody should be proud of our military. No matter if you're for this operation or against this operation. If you're American, you should be proud that we have the military that we do, because it allows us the privilege to walk around like we do without fear of, you know, certain things that other countries don't they I mean other citizens in other countries, they just don't have that same, they don't have that same type of luxury. It's definitely a luxury to have the military that we do, and we should definitely be proud of them. No matter again if you're for this or if you're against this, you know, we should be proud of our military.
It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise, it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel, so as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49. And there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected from aircraft, were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in.
I just wanted to pause it there. As you heard, all of the planes that were involved, um, you know, unmanned drones, you know, all of our branches of military, space comms. It was like it was a like this has been planned for a while. They didn't just just decide, oh, like 2 3 days ago, that, oh, this is what we're gonna do. No, this has been planned for a while. Like they knew that this was going to be the end game as far as getting Maduro, you know, captured. Um, they've been planning this, and just imagine being a 20-year old, um, getting your first taste of action, pretty much. Maybe not even your first taste of action, but getting more experience under your belt within this operation here. You know, you know, I'm sure that takes them from being maybe a rookie or looked at as a rookie to now you're getting a little bit more seasoned. You went through a major operation, and you know you're in the thick of things.
Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board. And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication an unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. So that was Dan Risen Kane. He, laid out, as much information as you could lay out for us. Because of course we don't want to give top secret stuff away. We don't want to give too much detail. But of course, that they were saying disabled their communications, disabled, any type of satellite maybe. Of course, the power went out in Venezuela. They wasn't able to effectively communicate. We had ground troops. We had special force team. That was like the main team that was going in for the target, and they had plenty of air support, and you had recon. You had those who were tasked with taking out the anti-aircraft equipment that Venezuela may have had, and which I've already seen an anti-aircraft piece of equipment just blown up, and I've seen a whole lot of different images, like images with just riddled with bullets, and I've seen, right, so it may have been a little resistance, that all that information is starting to come out slowly but surely, but this was all around joint effort from our military as a whole. And every piece had to fall into place in order for this operation to be successful based off the goal of this operation. And no service members were killed, so definitely was a success based off their goals. They was able to retrieve their target unharmed, and get him on his path over here to the United States. So again, that shows that really shows the precision and professionalism of our military. Next up is going to be Marco Rubio, who's going to say a few words, and then we'll take a look at the Q&A that's going to happen.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
We should make sure.
yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, you know, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, you know, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not, generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Is that a message for Cuba, Mr. President?
Mr. President.
You heard the reporter say, "Is that a message for Cuba?" Hey, man. You know, if you don't have a military like the United States, don't play around. Not when Donald Trump is in office, because, you know, as y'all see, he has no issue with using the full force of the military. Not even the full force, you know. That was just a portion, because of course we know we have troops, all across the world in certain strategic areas and places, so Marco Rubio, man, he pretty much was speaking big boy talk right there. And we had the military to back up that big boy talk. So definitely a lot of world leaders who, as they say, play games and stuff like that, who wake up and just realizing, like, I don't think I want that to be me. If I was in their shoes, I wouldn't want it to be me. I would kind of be trying to come to the table versus, and some people are going to say that's bully behavior. I feel like that's what comes with being a world superpower, man. Everybody want to be nice guy all the time. And that's how you get fucking taken advantage of, being fucking too nice. And this is speaking to somebody who used to try to be so nice to everyone, man. And in my fucking experience, man, you get your ass taken advantage of. Like, show me some nice guys who haven't been taken advantage of by some goddamn body. You're not gonna find too goddamn many. So, can't be nice with everybody. Definitely not at the expense of any United States citizens. So.
Mr. President,
you said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President,
does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. They stole our oil. We built that whole industry there. and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
It's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
What's the group you mentioned that would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track.
Kind of feel like it's going to be someone who is going to play nice with the United States. Definitely feel like that. President Marco Rubio of Venezuela. Now, I've seen some people, with memes and stuff like that already floating around social media. It's very, very trendy topic on X, saying Marco Rubio is going to be running Venezuela, which, as he said, it's going to be the people behind him. So, who's behind him? Marco Rubio. It's just funny.
Make a lot of money for the people and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Rubio would be.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
Well, I
going?
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today, he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So, just what your message is about that?
Well, he has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Did y'all hear that? Kind of giving us an insight on, who the next person who could be in this position. Colombia's had a very, very long history of being well known, for the poppy fields and being able to manufacture cocaine and stuff like that. So everyone knows all the notorious names in the cocaine game, and they know some of the heavy players are based out of Colombia. So hell yeah, if I was him, I would got that. I would, of course he's gonna say that, because he has supporters. He has to look tough for his supporters and his country and stuff like that. But best believe I would be worried if I just seen this play out in the country that's right next to my country. It's no difference, man. Do you really want to be on the other end of the force of the United States military? I think not.
Mr. President, did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved in it.
Sure. We call members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that.
So they did not tell Congress beforehand. They informed them after because they know, of course, it's going to be a whole process when they deal with Congress. That's why some people on X were saying that this was illegal. But they're looking to justify it by saying, this was a law enforcement operation. The Department of Justice, along with the military, working, together in order to bring two people who were already charged and were considered fugitives. So you got to be, keying in on these certain words that they're using because this is the reason that they're given, or some people may call it excuses. But these are the reasons that they are given, and the grounds of this operation. They're not really, basically not saying it was a full on just military operation, which it was in my opinion. But they are saying that there was several branches of law enforcement that was heavily involved in the planning and also, the going through with the whole thing, the whole operation. They were heavily involved, and I from what I was seeing on the picture, it looks like that was maybe a DEA agent that was standing behind Maduro on that one picture. So, and of course, they said the CIA was involved. So,
job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I can add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, We had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. We weren't there. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
Mr. President, you were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. The safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. People were wondering, do we get him by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. There was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today.
So there we have it. There was actually, there was gunfire. Like, this wasn't just, okay, we just walk in and just grab them, so there was actually a gunfight that took place. And like I said, I've seen some pictures, and man, when I talk about holes and everything, like, man, it was lit up. I'm gonna put it like that. Like, definitely used a lot of ammo in this whole operation.
But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
So where's Maduro?
Go ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards. Did that weigh on your decision
making? Well, that's when we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So With me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
Mr. President, can you? How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want the Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and drugs?
In terms of China and Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to go. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
You know, all of this is just the big picture just starts to become even more clear. You know, Trump wanted to put us into a position to where these countries like China have to come to us for oil. Those oil tankers were supposedly headed to China, the ones that were seized. He wants to put us in a position to where China has to come do business with us. You know, he wants to put us in a position to where these countries, even though they don't like us, even though there's silent wars with us, they have to come to the table and deal with us. He's trying to put us in that position, and I feel like this was one of the major steps for him to get that accomplished. You know, he's basically telling you his plan and what his goal was, you know, point blank, you know, and these are great questions that are being asked. And, you know, he's giving us insight to where his mind is going, you know, for this next 3 years of his presidency.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that? Oh,
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country. And they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms of, I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids, and that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military troops to provide?
They're going to be a team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, you know, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States, and frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back. Yeah.
So, Mr. President, what's being done to protect Americans in the country, and were any of the detained Americans
Well, right now they're
arrested
very
last
protected
night?
because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
And are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago.
And what can you
Okay,
say
wait,
about-
behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba's an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people of it's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's an increase.
We've just been listening to President Trump's news conference at Mar-a-Lago. That's going to conclude this portion.
Okay, so that's gonna wrap up that portion there. And yeah, like I said, this is gonna be like the longest video I've put out on YouTube thus far because I want to go over to another clip here. This is a clip out of and I just made sure that I didn't play anything Fox News, man, because it's a lot of people who, me personally, I'm looking at all news sources, whether it's Fox News, NBC, CBS. Man, me personally, I don't give a damn. Like, it's gonna be people that's gonna be for it, CNN. I'm gonna look at all sources because I want to hear what's going on all fronts. Some people who, did this and that in Fox and this and that, man. Who gives a fuck? Like, I'm just trying to get all the information that I can and make my own goddamn decision, man. Don't none of these motherfuckers, like, none of these analysts or people who are talking are going to ever shape my opinion on stuff. I'm going to listen to them, and then I'm going to draw my own conclusion for what I'm hearing. And I just don't understand how people don't have the capacity to, draw their own conclusions or have their own opinions about stuff. Like, you don't need nobody else to tell you how you need to feel or how the fuck to think, no matter what network they're on. So I'm gonna just play. This is like a local reaction of Venezuelans in Doral.
Gabriela Arzola. She is joining us live from Doral. She is outside in Arepaso, which we know is the mecca of the Venezuelan community there. And Gabby,
Seems pretty busy behind you, Gabby. It's 6 a.m. and people have been out there. Can you tell us about what you're seeing and how long you've been seeing people out there reacting to this news?
Guys, history is being made in real time. There are hundreds of people here in El Arepaso, which, like you said, has been the mecca for Venezuelans speaking out against injustices in their country for decades. I'm here joined by Edgar. Edgar has been here since he was 11 years old, born and raised in Venezuela, out here since early this morning. Tell me, why did you want to be out here?
Well, okay, before I begin, I just want to talk to you, America, and I hope you have your coffee when I tell you this, but these are great news. All eyes on Venezuela. These are historical news. This is history in the making. I mean, my chest, it feels like it's gonna explode with joy, because before I was even born, there have been struggles. My family has been fighting for so many years before I was even here. They have told me about it. They told me about a time where democracy existed, and now I can finally look forward to that. And that's just everything that I can ask for. And I just want to tell you people, America, Venezuelans are good people. The greatest people that I know, I can vouch for them. We are good. We are working hard, and this is President Donald Trump and Maria Corina Machado just created an opportunity for us to begin working harder than ever, because that's what we have always been doing, but now we will be working in our country. But we also have worked so hard here in the United States to build so much things, and I just want to thank you, America. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to work.
Do you hear the young man? Like I said, I'm gonna show some more clips of some other, reactions and stuff like that. Specifically one that we'll watch that one next. But do you hear what this young man was saying? This is a young man who said, they've been dealing with stuff even before he was born. I mean, it speaks for itself. This is a young man. This is his point of view. His family has been telling him things, and now he's going through it. Trying to keep himself from being emotional, but it doesn't look like they're sad. It looks like they're celebrating, or is my eyes, deceiving me? Am I not seeing people celebrating and singing and dancing and cheer and all of those things? Is it deceptive? These are the people. Is this set up? Did the news set this up? Is Fox News involved with setting this up? Because everybody want to get in the comments and speak down on Fox News, which everyone has their gripes with them and stuff like that. But do y'all feel like this is set up?
There's a lot of pride that comes with Venezuelans. He actually wore this flag just like this for his college graduation in the University of Florida, just to show you how much love there is for this country that has gone through so much for so long. Being here has been incredible. People are dancing, people are cheering, and we've been here so many times, Christian, like you said in the past, when there have been so many issues, and they would cheer, "Si se puede, si se puede." Now they're cheering, "Si se pudo." Yes, we did it. It happened. What do you think now this means for Venezuela, for family back home, how people can move forward after this?
Well, that's where the uncertainty comes. I plead, America, again, I plead for you, for mercy for us Venezuelans. People such as me, I have been here almost my whole life, all of my youth. And I do believe that the future of Venezuelans is in Venezuela. But I also think that some of us and some people here also want to continue working here in the United States, building a beautiful nation. Doral. This is the stronghold of Venezuelans, and it's a beautiful city. I recommend everybody to come here to Doral. I recommend everybody, if you're Venezuelan, everyone, come down here to El Arepaso. Yes, come celebrate with us. We love everybody because you, America, has loved us so much, so much. Thank you, America.
Edgar, thank you so much for.
This is a young guy, from Venezuela. Man, he was able to come over here, get him a college education. Um, you know, and how could you be mad at it, man? You know, it's just gonna be people that's gonna be mad at this, you know. Um, but you know, he was able to come get him an education. His parents was able to come over here and at least get their child an education. To you know, you never know where this kid could end up, you know, being in the future, you know, and you know, everyone should want to do that for their own children, man. You know, everybody should, you know, either get them an education, make sure they have a decent job, make sure you leave them a legacy or something. You know, I'm not a hater. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a person who has hate in their heart for people, man. You know, I just don't like, you know, people that come over here illegally and don't want to go through the process, or you know, don't really want to be, you know, positive, good members of society, man, that want to do like crime against, you know, Americans and stuff like that. Like I mean, I'm not for all that. But you know, if you come and peaceful, get your education, you contribute to the economy, you know, I mean, I mind my business, you mind your business. If we come together, we come together, you know. I mean, but everybody doesn't see it that way, you know. But um, man, you know, I want to get into this stuff I was seeing on X, and let's see, Mark Wayne, U.S. military veteran to service members strike in Venezuela. Let's get into this real quick. Volumes up. Let's get into this.
Yo, so it's being reported right now that Caracas is America is not behind you. Yo, so it's being reported right now that Caracas is under attack, getting bombed from the air, possibly from drones. There's been reports of blackouts. This is a message for all active duty. If you ever get this, I want you to know something, that America is not behind you. This ain't like the Afghan war and the Iraqi war, where you got to come home and be celebrated as a hero, have romantic movies made for you in Hollywood. Nah, America is like, what the fuck right now? So understand, if this ever I hope this gets to some fucking Navy dudes. If you are in the Navy, if you are in the Air Force, and you are behind the bombing of Caracas, Venezuela, America is not behind you. You will not be celebrated as a hero. You're a piece of shit. You are a piece of shit for following orders from fucking old, decrepit, corrupt men who are fucking over all of Americans right now. And now they're fucking over Venezuelans. America is not behind you, U.S. military. We are not behind you. You will not be celebrated. You have the freedom to turn down orders right now. If you are taking orders to bomb Caracas and bomb Venezuela, a sovereign country, and killing civilians, bombing civilian infrastructure, attacking even military targets, you are violating every fucking law. Not just man-made law. I'm talking about just the law of morality, the laws of the universe. If you are active duty, you have the ability to say no. You have the ability to turn down orders. I suggest you do so, because you will not be celebrated as a fucking hero. You will be seen as a piece of shit by all Americans, except your old fucks who are sitting in front of the TV watching Fox News.
I'm not an old fuck. I'm not an old fuck at all. The military, they're heroes. You know, I know this guy may be emotional because he's a military veteran and stuff like that. Maybe he was just looking to get a viral moment, but for you, who are you to speak for all Americans? You know, and I again, man, I respect you. I do appreciate you for all your service, man, as a military veteran. Um, but nah, man. And people in Congress has not approved. This is not a war. It's not a war. Nah, man. Illegal war. You know, I guess it's just a person. This is just crazy. And it's already done. Like it's already done. I don't want to scroll too much, because you know it says a lot going on. Um, I mean, you must not talk to anyone. That's what I'm saying. Behold, the American people in their entirety manifested in the form of this one random God to speak for all of them, for speak for them all. And again, what war? This is not a war. Like that's what I'm saying, man. People are just trying to jump on these fucking social media platforms to fucking get views and they go viral and whatever. Bro, you can't speak for all of us, man. I'm super proud of our military. I'm behind our military 100%. And, it would be kind of strange not to follow your commander in chief. It would be very, very strange, especially being one of the most powerful militaries in the world. It just kind of shocks me that people that's ex-military kind of feel this way, and they have different experience than us civilians. So again, I do respect him. I do respect his opinion, but me as an American, I do not have the same sentiment. I do not look at our military as a piece of shit. I feel like there was a task, there was a job that needed to be done, and these guys and girls in our military did their job. You know, because a lot of people, man, they have a lot of criticism, but they don't have a lot of answers to, certain things. And of course, I feel like, a lot of this was done to make sure that, to make sure that we get this oil and stuff like that. And Americans who want cheap illicit drugs are not behind you. Yeah, right. Fuck off. You don't speak for me. This guy doesn't know shit. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just like you can't speak for all Americans, bro. Like again, there's gonna be people for it, there's gonna be people against it. But you sitting here saying that all of America's gonna look at you like a piece of shit, bro. That's just not the truth, you know. And this was one of the first videos I seen, and I just said, man, I just gotta shine some light on this, man, because he wanted to go viral, and so far, 20,000 views. He's went viral, but bro, I don't think that's the viral that you're gonna want, you know. But let me show you some more stuff. Look at this.
Muchos años esperando esta pronta libertad, que todavía, bueno, pero por lo menos estamos saliendo de una de las peores ratas de Venezuela. Gracias al gobierno de Trump por este.
This. I mean, come on, bro. Is this AI? This is what's not gonna be shown. And as y'all see, Colombia is right there. But look. And even down to, where's one? Dude, here, listen to these people. Listen to people outside of their windows of their homes in Venezuela. Y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? No, I really think it speaks for itself. And I feel like this is something that had to be done. And now we have to see what the next steps are. Because we don't know what's coming next, but we'll see. And the president laid a lot of stuff out. And I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. Again, this is my longest video, man. If anybody stays for this whole hour and 30 minutes and watches this video, trust me, man, I greatly appreciate you. But I didn't feel like I could do as much as I wanted to with that big press conference and then these reactions that I wanted to put at the end here in a little short 9-10 minute video. So if you watch this whole thing, man, I greatly appreciate it. And like I said, I'm probably gonna chop this up and put this out and stuff like that, but I'm gonna put this whole thing up in its entirety. But if you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And this is just a little taste of how it would be if I was just doing a live stream. So again, man, everyone who has followed my channel thus far, who subscribed to my channel, I appreciate it. I really, really do. And I'm just gonna keep going, man. Like, like I work like crazy, and until I could get to a point to where I don't have to like do what I have to do as far as work. But this is still gonna be my work, and I still find the energy to do this because I've become passionate about it. I'm gonna keep getting better at this. And I see a lot of people say, man, you're boring and this and the third, but I already know, man. It's gonna be people that's gonna say and do and stuff like that, man. But and I'm just very, very excited to like show people more of my personality and stuff like that. And of course, man, when you first start doing something new, like getting on this camera and speaking on the mic, man, you're not gonna be like instantly there. It's gonna take some time to come around, but I'm getting there. And I really do appreciate everyone who has subscribed to my channel. I hope y'all are here to stay. And go ahead and close out. If you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.